My organization, we are the nation's top organization that is out there working on marijuana policy at the national level. We are here in D.C. I just moved back from Colorado a month and a half ago with my family, so we're living in here in D.C. again. But we are nonpartisan, we're nonprofit, we have science advisory board members who are doing research on marijuana, so we cut our teeth on the science of today's marijuana. Looking at, you saw a great local Utah example, and we're looking at that at the macro level and getting the data and the stories that he's sharing and trying to share that with the public. So we worked with a lot of different groups. We collaborate with all the medical associations and the chambers of commerce and people in drug prevention and all of that. So we're working across the board and obviously with groups like you all as well to get the word out. So there's a few things I want to highlight for you. I mean, we're seeing some really good stuff come out of this administration, which we're thankful for. Trump's FDA head about a month ago was talking about the link between marijuana and psychosis, the link between marijuana and addiction, which is rising. So there's been some really good stuff coming out of this new administration on that front. So you can't see the 1, 2, 3, but legalization right now has led to 3 really big changes that we're very concerned about. First of all, we have seen legalization lead to a major new addiction for profit industry. It's become big tobacco 2.0. There's massive commercialization and corporate capture happening that we're very concerned about. The number 2 thing that has happened is the addiction to marijuana has skyrocketed. We have seen now much more heavy rates of use and addiction across the country, but particularly in legal states. This is not the drug we know from a long time ago. And so the addiction has risen because the potency has risen, as he was talking about. So this drug was 2-3% potency. Now it's up to 99% potency. So it's a totally different drug. Third big change is the impact on mental health. Marijuana and mental health, we are seeing this is what makes marijuana so dangerous and so deadly, is its link with psychosis, with schizophrenia, all of these things. So, you hear like, oh, what about alcohol? Well, alcohol doesn't give you permanent schizophrenia, like what your increasing risk of using heavy, highly potent marijuana will give you. So if you ever get that question, that's kind of the quick answer is, let's talk about mental health. So those are the 3 big changes. Potency, like I said, we're getting up to 99% potent. This product was on average just 8% potent just in 2008. So the potency has risen. It's not because of the black market dealers. They could never get the potency that high. It is from this industry that has taken over this drug and has totally altered it. What is the industry? Altria is the new name for Philip Morris, the largest tobacco company in America. They have put more than $2 billion into the marijuana industry. They are the number 1 group we're fighting against here at the federal level when we're lobbying against marijuana. It's the Altria, the big tobacco guys, that are funding the lobbyists now that are pushing for legalization. And the tobacco industry has been working on this for a long time. During the master settlement with the tobacco industry, which many of us remember, there were a lot of documents that were leaked during that time, and one of those documents was Philip Morris's master plan to get to marijuana eventually as a part of their business. So we're not surprised to see this happening, but this is fully in line with their investments now. And so it's really, what we're seeing across the country is striking. So this is looking at past month use of marijuana versus tobacco nationwide. And you see tobacco is starting to fall. It's down to 32% of Americans using it monthly. Marijuana use now is very quickly rising to exceed tobacco use at this point. So we have never seen such heavy rates of use of this drug. And again, that is because states have taken the step to legalize this and legally sanction the use of an addictive, mind-altering substance. And when we do that, we see more use. So it's not just the amount of, it's not just the number of people using that is the most concerning. It is the amount of marijuana that each person is using that is especially concerning. So this is looking at Colorado. This is some recent data. So in 2016, which was 2 years after Colorado legalized it, we had about 12% of the marijuana users that used marijuana every single day. So very small proportion used marijuana every single day. Now it's more than half. So if you meet a marijuana user in Colorado, more than half of them are using marijuana every single day, multiple times a day. And it's the highly potent stuff. So we're not talking about, there's a lot of people say, well, what does it matter if I, smoke a joint once a month or every couple of weeks? That is not what's happening. It is very heavy use of this drug, which it is scientifically established that is the most harmful way you could use marijuana, is to use it every single day. That is where you're guaranteeing the mental health effects. That's where you're guaranteeing the addiction, the other harms to your cardiovascular health that we're learning now. So heavy use is what is driving a lot of the harms here in this country. And what we have is an industry that is a for-profit industry responsible solely to its shareholders. That's something I think people don't understand, is it's not nonprofits who are running these companies, these pot shops. It is for-profits who their legal duty is to their shareholders, their investors. And so when you have an investor that puts $100 million into your pot company, you need to return, these guys want to see 10x returns. They want to see tenfold returns on their investment. How are you going to return tenfold on a $100 million investment when you're selling a commodity that is addicting and hurting and destroying the American public? These companies don't care about public health. Their goal is to sell as much of their addictive drug as possible. It's important we understand that incentive alignment. The incentive alignment for profit is to addict people and get them to use it heavily. So very, very important we understand what's going on economically here. And of course, our youth are, they're bearing the brunt of this. We're seeing increases in youth use of marijuana. So this is 12 to 17. We've seen a 13% increase across all the legal states in their past month use. And then 18 to 25, that young adult age group is really driving the increases across the country. These are the folks who are now coming in for their first jobs, they're graduating college or they're in college, and those folks are the ones who are trying marijuana at the highest rates right now. And their brains are still developing. And when you're using marijuana during that development stage, your brain is permanently reducing its IQ. It's permanently losing short-term memory. There's a lot of harm to your brain at that age. So we have a new generation of American workers that need to be more productive than ever, and they are being set back by what's happening with this industry and with the promotion of these drugs. So, just to kind of bear the point out again here, this is 12 to 17, top 20 states in the country for marijuana use for kids 12 to 17, and they all either have medical, which is the purple bars, or recreational marijuana, which is the red. So there's this refrain out there that, you legalize marijuana and the kids are not going to get into it because we're carding the kids, like they can't buy at the pot shop. Just like alcohol and tobacco, which never flow through public high schools, folks, and never go to high school parties. Like, we do such a great job keeping those out of people's hands. Certainly it'll be the same with marijuana. Clearly, it is not happening. So top 20 states, again, they're driving this, and they all have laws. So I talked about the mental health impact. This is really the best study you can look at. It's from the Lancet Journal of Psychiatry. If you use today's high-potency marijuana regularly, you're 5 times more likely to develop schizophrenia or psychosis. 5 times more likely. Plain and simple. The impact to mental health is deeply concerning, and obviously we've seen some violence in the recent weeks and months that also had some ties to this issue as well. Men 21 to 30, the HHS, our Health and Human Services, estimates that 30% of the cases of all schizophrenia in this country among men 21 to 30 is directly related to them being addicted to marijuana. So that's a lot of people, and a major impact. So it's something that's not getting enough discussion. And of course, road deaths is another thing we're watching. There's a lot more people that are impaired on the roads. 1 in 4 of all the deaths in Colorado are related, the road deaths are related to marijuana impaired drivers. So this is having an impact on the roads as well. This is a key thing that a lot of folks are needing to hear about. And of course, we're seeing poison control center call issues for kids under the age of 14, kids under the age of 4, who are being exposed to marijuana gummy bears, marijuana edibles. I have a friend who, lives in Colorado. He's a parent like I am. Kids are a little bit older than mine. And he said every time my kids go to play at their friend's house, I've got to call the parents to make sure they're not marijuana users. And if they are, that their gummies aren't out on the table, that they're stored somewhere where the kids can't get into them. These are the kinds of conversations you have to have. Right? It's things that are unintended consequences of these policies, I would say. The same kind of thing, you have a bill that says no doctors can be co-located with a pot shop. Okay, well, they're going to put them in a tent outside the front of the pot shop. So, you can write these laws with the best of intentions, but people are going to find their ways around them. That's why we don't sanction and endorse drug use in this country. And finally, we have not eliminated the black market. 80% of all of California's marijuana market is totally illegal, folks. California has had legalization since 2016, and the black market cartels and the drug dealers are serving 80% of that market still. So you don't get rid of the black market with legalization. You don't get rid of the cartels. In fact, you give them cover to come into your state, which is unfortunately what we're seeing in places like Maine and Oklahoma, California, et cetera. So that's marijuana. Also, we're dealing with hemp. So the hemp issue, I'm sure, is something a number of you have heard about. I saw a Texas Eagle Forum somewhere, Texas. You guys are dealing with this right now. But hemp-derived marijuana products are proliferating due to a loophole in the 2018 Farm Bill. And there's a lot more I could say about it. Happy to answer any questions about that. But these are the products that are proliferating as well, and they act and behave just like marijuana. And this is something we're working on also. So just to give you a little bit of some political trends that are going on right now, really the wind is at our backs when it comes to fighting against this marijuana stuff. So we've seen a vast majority of the states that have voted on this, the last two political cycles, have rejected the legalization of marijuana. North Dakota, South Dakota, Massachusetts even had a vote on legalizing psychedelics. And Massachusetts, a very blue state, voted against legalizing psychedelics. I think people are starting to wake up and say, look, all the facts that we just talked about in this presentation, those are getting out there in the news. People are seeing those. And I think that's why it's important, and I wanted to share these with you today, because these are the things a lot of people are concerned about at the state level. They don't know about the mental health link. They don't know about the potency of marijuana. They don't know that legalization doesn't get rid of the cartels, because that is a big myth that's out there that it does. When you start educating people about this, they start to vote in droves against legalizing the drug. So this is a very key set of talking points on this deck, and I'm happy to provide it to all of you who would like to use it for your states. But really, really important. So unfortunately, you can't see this, but big picture, there's a Gallup poll that just came out not that long ago that found that a majority of Americans think marijuana has a negative effect on society now. A majority of Americans think it has a negative effect. It's the first time in a number of years that that has happened. So I think we are starting to see a shift in public sentiment, and we really need to get the word out. So that's kind of a summary of some of the facts. What you can do now. So we heard marijuana rescheduling brought up. Raise of hands, how many of you are aware of marijuana rescheduling and that's being discussed right now? Okay, great. You're all super educated. I mean, this is the best of the best in here. So I'm glad you're all educated. So we are tracking that. We are really working with the administration. We're working with a lot of people to try to push against this. We don't know what President Trump is thinking on this subject, and so that's why it's really important and very, very valuable that you all brought this up in your meetings, because he needs to hear from the groups like you all to know this is not something we want to have happen. But long story short, with rescheduling, if marijuana is rescheduled down to a lower schedule, they're looking at moving it from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, really what will happen is it'll be a giant tax break for the marijuana industry. They'll serve to make about $2 billion because they'll be able to write off all of their business expenses. And beyond that, not really much else changes. It's still illegal, all those things, but it's a total giveaway to this industry. And the thing that upsets me the most about it is they get to write off their taxes for advertising. Advertising, which we know is going to kids with Sesame Street characters and cartoons and cookies and gummies and all the things that they're doing across the country. They would be rewarded for that with rescheduling. So please keep up the good fight on rescheduling. Very important. What I would say is, to the extent that you can write letters to the editor in your local newspapers in your town saying you're worried about marijuana rescheduling, that is very effective because it shows the administration is watching for clips at papers to see what's going to move political groups in different districts. If you show that marijuana rescheduling is something that's going to be a bad idea for you as a voter, they're going to pay attention. So if you say, I'm watching this and I'm going to be making voting decisions based on this with some of these different members of Congress and other folks, that will send a message to the administration. Very, very, very important. So to the extent you can do that, they're only a 250-word exercise typically at these local papers. Very, very powerful, very useful. You want to write an op-ed in your paper, that's obviously great too. And obviously, just getting information. We have a lot of information on our website, which I'll share. So that'd be great. Second big priority we have right now is the hemp fight. So these hemp products, again, they look just like marijuana, but this industry has gotten very organized. They, were really kind of, very, in many ways, barbarians out there, quite frankly, dealing drugs directly to kids, being crazy, getting away with it. Now they're hiring the big guns because we're very close to banning them at the federal level. So Congresswoman Mary Miller from Illinois is our champion. She has introduced an amendment, which many of you probably know, to ban hemp. We gave her an award at our summit this year. She is doing the hard work there, but we're running out of time to get that amendment done. There's a lot of discussion going on right now around this amendment, getting it into the final text of some of the bills they're working on right now in Congress. So now's the time to make your voice heard on that. It's time to write your lawmakers, say close the hemp loophole, let's ban these products. So that would be very, very helpful as well. And I will just tell you, the industry is getting very, very organized very fast because they know they're standing ready to kind of lose everything. Unfortunately, they've got Rand Paul that is going around calling members in the House, which is odd to have somebody from the Senate calling somebody from the House. But he's doing that with these hemp industry lobbyists, and he's saying, don't do this because he's trying to, he wants to save hemp beverages and whatever. So they're trying to confuse everybody. But the truth, as it so frequently is, and as Jesus taught us with the gospel, the truth is so simple, is that these products are harmful and dangerous. We can't allow them into our society. So please do push on that as well. So those are the two big priorities I wanted to mention. Finally, these are reforms we're working on. You can't see what we're working on. There's a section here that I don't know if that'll pop up. But this is for the purple section is for legal states. So I would say like Utah, for example, with legal medical marijuana. We are pushing for, warning labels, potency caps. He talked about how it's unlimited potency. We want the potency in these legal states capped down to 5%. It shouldn't be anything higher than 5%. Industry, that's a total non-starter. They don't want that. He'll tell you that. But that is where we want to start with this to eliminate a lot of the harms. So doing a lot of different things, keeping local opt-outs, stuff like that in legal states. Obviously, in non-legal states, number one, you don't want to legalize it. Number two, we need more education. And this is actually something we're talking about at the federal level too, is doing another education campaign for the public on drugs in general, but certainly marijuana, because it is totally misunderstood by the general public. I mean, the people that, for those of you who remember, there was a national anti-drug campaign. There's a skillet and an egg boiling. This is your brain on drugs. That was very effective at the time. Obviously, times change and we need to update things, right? But they ended up defunding that campaign. And so government has basically stepped back from its role in telling the public that drugs are bad and here's why, and educating kids in schools. They've really taken a back seat. So who's taken the driver's seat? Snoop Dogg, Mike Tyson, celebrity influencers. Are they all anti-drug warriors? No. They're being paid by these companies to promote these products. And our kids now, they're getting a smartphone at 11 years of age, and they're getting on Instagram and Facebook, and they see, oh, well, this person is using this product. So yeah, that must be a good thing for me to use. And oh, it's medicinal now, so let's use it. Those are the people we've entrusted with drug messaging in this country, folks. So it's a really good idea for us to take leadership back on these issues at the state level as well as at the federal level to educate our youth about the harms of drugs and particularly the harms of marijuana, because right now there's so many myths that are out there. So that was just a quick note on that. We have a number of resources for you all as local advocates. So please scan this. This is our local control toolkit. So for you in legal states, you're wanting to opt out, get pot shops out of your neighborhoods. We have crowdsourced this from all of our experts across the country. Ordinances, language you can use in city councils. So this is just a fantastic toolkit that you can get by scanning this. And again, I'll share the slides. Also, we have our one-pagers. We have resources out the wazoo, every topic you can think of. Yeah, we'll come to that in just one second. So we have our impact report of all the stats on every different issue you can think of. So definitely check out our website. It's learnaboutsam.org. And then the final thing is we put out a lot of news. This is to our website. You can subscribe to our newsletters. We have a new website now called The Drug Report. That is your one-stop shop for all news related to all drugs. So marijuana, fentanyl, opioids, psychedelics, new studies that have come out. If you're interested in writing something, we take guest submissions for this. It's a cool online news site. So definitely check that out as well. I'll skip over this, but we have a blueprint also you can check out, and that's on our website. So that is our website URL. I'm happy to take questions, and I just want to thank you all very much for your time.